Hi, I'm Ellie, a secondary maths teacher with over 10 years of experience teaching the Edexcel GCSE in both foundation and higher, and I'm here to help you revise for your GCSEs with only 50 days to go. Let's get into it.
Today I'm going to pick up a topic that is in every single exam series and has been since 2017, and that is rounding. So there are a few different ways you can round. They can ask for whole number or integer, decimal places, nearest 100, nearest 1000, nearest 10, and significant figures. We're going to focus in on the first ones that come up, the grade 1 to 3 topics first. So whole numbers, nearest 10, nearest 100, and nearest 1000. A whole number, as you know, is an integer, and sometimes you can be asked whole number, sometimes you can be asked integer. So let's get into an example of rounding to that. You only have to round the decimal to a nearest whole number. If it's already a whole number, they're not going to ask you to do that. So here are some examples and we'll get down to them together. The first example here is 14.2. So what we need to focus on is just this first decimal place. We've got 14, we're not going to change the tens, but we need to think about what's closer, 14 or 15 to 14.2. Now that 2 is closer to the 14, so our answer in that situation is going to be 14. Remember, if it's 5 or more, that's when you round up. So let's have a look at the second one. We've got 3.6. That 0.6 is what we're looking at. Is that going to be closer to 3 or to 4? Well, that 0.6 takes you over the 5 that we look at, closer to the 4. So our answer will be 4 on this occasion. And then this last one, we have 2 decimal places. We only want to look at the first one. So that 0.0. The 9 is irrelevant. So we end up just rounding to 4 itself because it's 4.0. Now let's take a look at nearest 10, nearest 100, and nearest 1000. These typically come up in your first 10 questions on a foundation paper, and you want to make sure you're keeping the other place values in the right place. Let me show you with an example. So here we're going to round 246 to the nearest 10. I'm focusing only on the 10s here. My 4, is it going to be 40 or 50? That's what we have to decide. Which one is 246 closer to? The 2 remains either way. We have 200s. We want to know what the 10s is going to be. In this case, it's 46. That's closer to the 50. So our answer would be 250. Another example now, we're going to round 19,683 to the nearest 1000. So only focusing again on the thousands column, which is the 9. That only thing we are rounding. What we will end up with is only zeros after that column, but we need to figure out, is it closer to 19,000 or the next 1,000 up, which actually is 20,000? So one of those two answers is the correct answer. We need to look at the next place value along, which is our 6. That's going to inform us how close we are, and that takes us closer to the 20,000. So our correct answer in this case is 20,000. Remember, it's 5 and more that rounds up. Before I move on to the other 2 types of rounding, it is your turn. So pause the video on these questions and have a go at them. Answers on the way. Okay, here come the answers. So the first question, to the nearest 10, we are just focusing on that 30. Will the 3 round it up or down? The 1, the 6, and the 9 will remain as part of the number. We just need to figure out, is it 30 or 40? And I accidentally wrote the 3 and then turned it into a 0 because it's closer to 30. Next question, to the nearest 100, it is that 9 that we need to figure out. Is it going to be a 9, or will it round everything up to a 1 and 7, 17,000? It ends up being 16,900. And for the last question, to the nearest 1000, is it closer to 16,000 or 17,000? The answer is 17,000. Now to quickly go through the second one, we end up with 14 to the nearest whole number. Then we end up with 10. The 7 will round it up. The next is closest to 4. And then this one with 2 decimal places. Remember that 5 doesn't matter. So that is just 8. And the last one, we end up the 9 rounding the units up to 4. So 24 is a final answer. Next, we move on. And the next one I want to look at is significant figures. Significant figures are just your biggest place value. Typically, when we're rounding to significant figures, we are asked to round to 1 or 2 or 3 only. I'm going to do some examples now to coach you through it. So first up, we're going to round 14.6 to one significant figure. And again, significant figure is just the biggest place value. So we're looking at rounding 14.6 to the nearest 10, because that is our biggest place value. So we look at the 4, that rounds down. So we end up at 10. It would be between 10 or 20. Those are the possible answers. 10 is the correct one. Next example. This time we're going to round 165 to 2 significant figures. So in this case, what we are looking at again is the tens column. We're rounding to the nearest 10. So if we're rounding 165 to the nearest 10, we end up with either 160 or 170. In this case, the correct answer is 170. Another example now. This time we're going to round 0.0839 to one significant figure. Again, we're interested in the largest place value, not the zeros, because there is nothing there. So our largest place value in this case is our hundredths column. So that 8, is the 3 going to round the 8 up, or will it stay the same? It will stay the same. So we end up with an answer of 0.08. A couple more examples to go. This time we're going to round the number 12.896 to 3 significant figures. So if we count along the number, we have the third significant figure falling in our tenths column. So that is where we are rounding. The 9 in the following column is going to round our 8 up. So we end up with 12.9. One more example now. And this time we're going to round 19,780 to 3 significant figures. So if we count along again, this time our third significant figure falls on our hundredths column. So we are rounding, is it closer to 19,700 or 19,800? The answer is, of course, 19,800. Okay, enough of me. Pause now and have a go at these questions. Answers on the way. For the first one here, we are rounding to 3 significant figures. So we have the 6, which is going to round our 9 up, but that 9 will round up to a 10, which means we have to carry that one across to the next place value up. So we end up with 15,000 as our answer there. Next up, we are rounding 71,089 to just one significant figure. So is it closer to 70,000 or 80,000? And the answer is 70,000. For question C, we are looking at 2 significant figures. Is it closer to 20 or 21? And it's 21. For question D, in hard mode, for 3 significant figures here, that 8 will round the 9 up, again to a 10. But that 1 will round the next 9 in the units up, also to a 10. So what will happen is we will add 1 onto the tens column as well. We end up with 50, but we have to put the 0.0, otherwise we do not have 3 significant figures. That's why that one is particularly difficult. For E, we don't look at the zeros before the first number. So that 3 is our one significant figure. The 2 will not round it up. The answer is 0.03. For F, so 3 significant figures is all of our whole number. Well, the 5 will round it up to 363. Again, for G, we don't look at the 0, just at the 5. So to 2 significant figures, I put that in the wrong place. We also look at the 0. The 9 will round that 0 up to a 1. I think I was looking at the question underneath, which uses the same numbers, but only to one significant figure. So that answer is 0.5. Now, the last section we're going to look at is rounding to a certain decimal place. Now, remember, a decimal place is any number that is after the decimal point. So we are not looking at any whole number values here for our rounding. We are just rounding to anything after that decimal point. Again, you could see 1, 2, or 3 decimal places. The most common is 1 decimal place, definitely, but 2 is a bit more common than 3, but both can be seen as well. So let's get into some examples. First up, we're going to round 1.526 to 1 decimal place. So we are looking at that 5 being our 1 decimal place. Remember, for decimal places, we won't include the 1 because it's before the decimal point. So that 5 is our 1 decimal place. We cut it off there. Will the 2 round it up, or will it stay the same? It will stay the same. So our answer is 1.5. Another example now, and we're going to round 36.805 to 2 decimal places this time. So again, that 36, we don't use it. We're looking at the 8 and the 0. Those are our 2 decimal places. The 5 will round that 0 up to a 1. A couple more examples to go. This time we're going to round 39.65 to 1 decimal place. So we're looking at that 6 being our 1 decimal place. The 5 is going to round the 6 up, so we end up with 39.7. Last example, now this time we're going to round 0.0803 to 3 decimal places. So that 0 after the decimal point and the 8 and the next 0 are all count towards our decimal places. The 3 is not going to round the 0 up, so our final answer is there, 0.080. Right, now it is your turn. This is the last section. Give these questions a go. You need to round each number to the number of decimal places in brackets. Pause the video now. Okay, last set of answers incoming. The first one we have 1.9. The second one is 25.41 because that 6 will round the 0 up. The next is 0.32. Again, the 8 rounds up. The next is 42.659. Our next answer will be 68.5. Then we have 103.9, 1.3. There's no rounding up there because of the 2. And finally, 93.63. Well done for showing up for yourself, and thanks for revising with me today. I'll have links to further resources you can use to revise in the description. Have a great rest of your day.